You guys know me, I love giving stuff away. But lately, I've been thinking about the flip side of free stuff, specifically on Craigslist. It's like this weird underbelly of the internet where things get strange. There's something about those free listings, you know? They seem too good to be true, and you know what they say about things that seem too good to be true. It's like opening a door to a dark, unknown world. And trust me, some of the stories I've found will make you think twice before clicking on that free sectional sofa. Picture this. A quiet tree-lined street in the suburbs. Kids are playing basketball, dads are mowing their lawns, and the only thing breaking the silence is the distant hum of an ice cream truck. In one of these homes lived a young woman named Sarah. Sarah was just trying to make her way, working part-time at the local bakery and taking online courses. Money was tight, so when her old TV finally gave out, she knew she couldn't afford a replacement. That's when she stumbled upon a listing on Craigslist: free TV barely used, must pick up today. It felt like fate. The ad even had pictures. It was a nice TV, a flat screen even. There was just one catch. The seller was very specific about the pickup location, an abandoned warehouse district on the outskirts of town. Sarah hesitated, something felt off. But the thought of finally having a working TV again was too tempting to resist. So, against her better judgment, Sarah decided to go for it. She told her friend where she was going, just in case. As she pulled up to the address, she was struck by how different it was from her neighborhood. The buildings were dilapidated, windows boarded up with graffiti tagging the walls. The air was thick with an eerie silence. Sarah found the unit number from the ad. She called out, "Hello, I'm here for the TV." Only silence answered her. Taking a deep breath, she stepped inside. The warehouse was cavernous and dark. Dust motes danced in the faint rays of sunlight that pierced through the grimy windows high above. The air was heavy with the smell of mildew and decay. In the center of the room, barely visible in the dim light, sat the TV. It looked exactly like it did in the pictures. Relief washed over Sarah. Maybe she was just being paranoid. As she got closer, she noticed something strange. There was a child's toy lying on the floor next to the TV. A little red wagon. What was a toy doing in a creepy, abandoned warehouse? Sarah's gut screamed at her to leave, but she was already here. She told herself she would just grab the TV and go, but as she bent down to unplug the cords, she heard it. A soft, almost inaudible whisper coming from the shadows behind her. Sarah froze, every muscle in her body tense. She slowly turned her head, her heart pounding in her chest, but she couldn't see anyone. She didn't wait to see who it was. She didn't even try to grab the TV. She just ran. She ran faster than she'd ever run before, her lungs burning, her legs screaming for her to stop. The rain was coming down in sheets, blurring the streetlights of the city into halos of color. It was the kind of night that made you want to curl up inside with a warm drink and forget about the world outside. But for a young couple, Mark and Jessica, it was the night they were finally going to buy their dream car. They had been searching for months, scouring online listings and visiting countless dealerships. Everything was either too expensive or a total clunker. Then they found it, a vintage Mustang, cherry red in pristine condition, listed on Craigslist for a price that seemed too good to be true. The seller, a man who identified himself only as Rick, was evasive about meeting in a public place, insisting that he had the car tucked away in a storage unit on the other side of town. Red flags were going off in Jessica's mind like fireworks, but Mark, blinded by the thought of finally owning his dream car, brushed off her concerns. He was convinced this was fate. After weeks of back and forth texting, they agreed to meet Rick at the storage facility. The rain was relentless as they pulled up to the address Rick had given them. It was an old, sprawling complex, poorly lit and eerily deserted. "Maybe we should just reschedule," Jessica said, her voice barely a whisper over the sound of the rain pounding on the roof of their car. Mark squeezed her hand reassuringly. "It's fine. I'm sure it's nothing. Let's just get this over with." He pulled out his phone and texted Rick that they were there. A few minutes later, a beat-up van pulled up next to them. The driver's side window rolled down, revealing a man who looked nothing like the profile picture Rick had sent them. This man was older, with a scraggly beard and eyes that seemed to dart around nervously. "You here for the Mustang?" he asked, his voice gruff. Mark nodded, trying to hide his unease. "Yeah, that's us. Are you Rick?" The man chuckled, a dry, humorless sound. "Rick? No, Rick couldn't make it. I'm his, business partner." He gestured towards the storage unit behind him. "It's in there. Come on, I'll show you." Jessica didn't like this one bit. Her instincts screamed at her to tell Mark to turn the car around and drive away. But as if in a trance, Mark was already out of the car and following the man towards the storage unit. Jessica reluctantly followed, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her ribs. The man fumbled with a set of keys, finally managing to unlock the padlock on the storage unit door. He slid the door open with a groan, revealing a space that was barely big enough to fit a car, let alone a vintage Mustang, and there was no car. Jessica's blood ran cold. Before either of them could speak, the man slammed the storage unit door shut, plunging them into darkness. Jessica screamed, her voice echoing in the enclosed space. Mark stumbled back, bumping into something solid, the man's chest. He felt a sharp pain in his side as the man jabbed him with something hard and unforgiving. "Get them in the van!" the man growled, and Jessica realized with a sickening dread that he wasn't alone. Two figures emerged from the shadows, their faces obscured by hoodies pulled low over their brows. They grabbed Jessica and Mark, dragging them towards the waiting van. The fall semester was about to start, and Emily, a bright-eyed freshman at the bustling university, was desperate for a place to live. Dorm life wasn't really her thing, and most of the off-campus apartments she'd seen were either way out of her price range or already taken. Scrolling through endless listings on Craigslist, she stumbled upon a beacon of hope. A spacious, sunny room in a charming Victorian house just a short walk from campus, for a fraction of the cost of her other options. The ad was accompanied by pictures that looked like they were straight out of a home decor magazine. A cozy living room with a fireplace, a modern kitchen with stainless steel appliances, and a backyard perfect for weekend barbecues. And the best part, the ad mentioned another female roommate, also a student who enjoyed cooking and movie nights. Emily, who was a little nervous about navigating college life on her own, was immediately sold. She emailed the address in the ad, her fingers crossed that this wasn't too good to be true. To her delight, she received a response almost immediately. The email was warm and friendly, signed Olivia. Olivia explained that she had just moved in herself and was eager to find a roommate who was also new to the city. She even suggested meeting for coffee to make sure they were a good fit. Emily was over the moon. This was all happening so fast, but something about Olivia's emails felt off. Maybe it was just her anxiety about starting college, but Emily couldn't shake off a nagging feeling that something wasn't quite right. Olivia had been insistent on meeting at a cafe near the house, a quaint little place called the Cozy Bean. As Emily sat across from Olivia, sipping her latte, she tried to pinpoint what it was that was bothering her. Olivia was everything she seemed to be in her emails, friendly, outgoing, and easy to talk to. She was beautiful too, with long dark hair and piercing blue eyes that seemed to hold Emily's gaze a little too long. But there was something about her smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, a kind of emptiness behind the perfectly manicured facade. Emily pushed those thoughts aside, telling herself she was being ridiculous. This was her chance to have a real college experience, to make new friends, to finally feel like she belonged. She convinced herself that her gut feeling was just nerves. They talked for almost an hour, discussing everything from their favorite books to their career aspirations. By the end of the coffee date, Emily was completely charmed. Olivia even invited her to come see the house that night. The sooner the better, she'd said, a little too eagerly, according to Emily's intuition. As Emily stood on the porch of the Victorian house later that evening, she couldn't help but feel like she had stepped into one of those picture-perfect movies she loved. The house was even more impressive in person. Olivia greeted her with a warm hug and led her inside, giving her a tour of the house. Everything was exactly as it had appeared in the photos. "And this is your room," Olivia announced, pushing open a door at the end of the hallway. The room was spacious and airy, with a large window overlooking the backyard. "It's perfect," Emily breathed, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. This was it. She had found her home. Olivia smiled, but her eyes remained cold and distant. "I knew you'd love it," she said softly, her voice barely a whisper. "Now, about your security deposit." As the weeks went by, Emily couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. Olivia, who had initially been so eager to hang out, was now distant and withdrawn. She was always gone, and when Emily asked where she was going, Olivia would just shrug and mumble something about running errands or meeting a friend. I don't know about you guys, but I'm never looking at Craigslist the same way again. It's terrifying how easily things can go wrong, how a simple desire for a good deal can lead you down a dark path. These stories are just a glimpse into the potential dangers lurking behind those online ads. So, be careful out there, my friends. Always trust your instincts. If something feels off, it probably is. And maybe, just maybe, think twice before you click on that free listing.